presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Well, unfortunately, we had to put Annabelle back away for the rest of the year. But be rest assured, we'll break her out once the Christmas season begins in November. But in the meantime, welcome everyone to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We're presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. My name's Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of your hosts. To my right is a man who is very angry at the NFL about Saturday's wild card weekend. He'll tell you why in a second. Dustin Henry. Dustin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good. I got some things on the agenda. Got to de-Christmasify the house. You know, much like Annabelle, I got to put my Christmas decorations away for the season after this. But you hit the nail on the head. Wild card weekend is one of my favorite things to do. You're going to be coming in. I got our buddy Scott coming in. My Uncle Al's probably going to be there. We got a crew of people showing up. I'm figuring out the spread, and I'm sitting there. I'm going, oh, we got 2 tasty games to enjoy. Well, guess what? One of them is exclusive to Peacock, and I shake my fist at you because I refuse to sign up for another streaming service. I think
Well, lucky for you. Well, go ahead. I'll let you go. But
all right. You want to do this stuff in the regular season? Okay. I get a lot of people get mad because they don't have NFL Network prior to Amazon Prime, and a lot of people don't have Amazon Prime. You get the Thursday night games, but as we've detailed, 9 times out of 10. No offense to any of the teams that play on the Thursday night football games, but you're not missing much in the regular season. The teams aren't ready to play. It's clear. The Thursday Thanksgiving games, that's a different story. Everybody knows that's coming. Everybody prepares for it. But during the regular season, it's too much. The games really aren't that good. But you put something exclusive to a streaming network in the playoffs, I got a problem.
Playoffs?
Even ESPN, which a lot of people give them flack because they're like, I don't have ESPN, so I can't watch Monday Night Football. But even they put their playoff game, they simulcasted it on ABC. So there was an opportunity for people that couldn't watch the game on ESPN. They could watch it there. The playoffs, everybody should be able to watch all the games. It's what we wait for. End rant. How are you tonight, sir?
Well, lucky for you, I have a Peacock subscription.
Ooh, all right.
Yes. So yeah, I'll gladly share mine. I'll put it on your device. We'll watch that game. All right. But yes, right. I agree with you in the fact that the NFL putting a wild card game on both ESPN and on Peacock. That's just dirty pool. That's just dirty pool. Because it's just a way to force people to subscribe to their services. And look, the NFL's got enough money. The NFL is going to make $18 billion this year. You can't get full-time referees, but you're forcing fans to sign up for streaming services they don't want. Let's go watch their games. It's crap. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
It's Bush League. It's Bush League.
It's Bush League. Speaking of Bush League, here are social media channels right here down here below.
Segway
Twitter,
master.
Segway. I got Jake. There you go. Another nickname for me. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It's at NoCredsREQ. Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/NoCredsREQ. At NoCredsREQ. Excuse me. If you wouldn't mind, please like, comment, share, and subscribe on either YouTube, Facebook, or you can join the show on Twitter now. So as we demonstrated a couple weeks ago when my buddy Rod Peterson was on. Yeah, watch your toes. I'm name dropping, folks. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast on any podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, wherever you podcast. Rate and review. Please leave us a 5-star rating. That would be super duper. And also, if you're on a platform where you can review, we'll read your review on the air. no matter how awesome or how disgustingly gross it is. And because we're on a live show, unless you're watching on replay or on either Rumble, on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or even on Belly Up Sports YouTube page, which will be available the next day at 8:00 a.m., you can engage with the show. You can engage with the show. It's a live show. Leave your comments. And we got a couple in the comment section. But Dustin, I know you've been waiting. You've been waiting all week to hear that magical, magical sound.
Lay it on me.
Oh, it's being laid. And yeah, please engage with us. Engage with the show. Leave a comment during the show on the replay. We've actually got some comments already from Sapna yelling her obligatory sports ball and her emoji hand pink waving emoji that she usually leaves for the channel. Thank you, Sapna, for leaving your comment. So with that, let's go over to week 18 of the NFL. Lots of things happening, lots of implications happening. And we're going to start, as always, with our biggest upset of the week. Dustin, I'm going to have you start. What was your biggest upset in week 18 of the NFL?
Well, I have a feeling we're going to be talking a lot about this game, but I have to go with Titans over the Jags. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this in the least. The Titans, they were without their starter, Will Levis, at quarterback. He's been hurt. And you could argue that Ryan Tannehill was an upgrade in there, but the Titans played like they were the ones that had the playoff game on the line and not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Tennessee Titans, the big stat that stuck out to me was, I couldn't believe it, and I'm going to get a little bit more into this later, but the Titans defense picked off Trevor Lawrence twice in this game. You want to guess how many interceptions the Titans had for the season total heading into this game? They had.
Hang on, let me get my calculator here.
All right. Carry the one.
Carry the one. Divide by pi. Circle beats the square. Circle gets the square. Less than 10.
You are correct, sir. They had 5, count them, 5 interceptions on the year, and they picked off Trevor Lawrence twice in this game, and Derrick Henry also ran very well. He grabbed a microphone after the game, so we don't know if it's his final, and he said some words to the Titans fans. I can't believe he's been there for 8 years already. It seems like yesterday. I was excited because I picked him up as a hot rookie in my fantasy draft, but those days are 8 years gone, which is hard to believe. But that was my biggest upset. The Jags, to me, they didn't look crisp in this one, Ryan. I don't know how else to describe it. It just seems like they showed up a little flat. They did try to rally back a little bit, but they just didn't. They didn't have it, and they needed to have it in this game. And it turns out this was Mike Vrabel's last game as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, and I feel like his players rallied around him a bit. The Titans were ready to play in this one.
Yeah, it's disappointing that it's Mike Vrabel's last game. The last 2 years have not been kind to the Tennessee Titans. I think it all started in the draft in 2022 when they decided, in their I guess you could say infinite wisdom, trade AJ Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles for what would be Treylon Burks. I know you're asking yourselves, what's a Treylon Burks? And yeah, I'm asking myself the same question as we speak. But when you become one-dimensional, it stinks because you can't seem to find any weapons. I guess Treylon Burks was supposed to be the replacement for AJ Brown. Unfortunately, because of injury and other things hasn't really happened. They bring in DeAndre Hopkins to kind of jumpstart the offense, and it worked to a certain extent. But when your quarterback position is in flux, as it has been with Ryan Tannehill of all quarterbacks. By the way, future Jets backup incoming. By the way, Ryan Tannehill allegedly.
Man.
Well, that's what a lot of Jets fans are speculating. We'll get to the Jets in a moment or two.
Yeah.
But when you're off, all your offense is, as I've said before, at the beginning of this, at what last year during our season preview, Derrick Henry left, Derrick Henry right, Derrick Henry on a dive. Mm-hmm. It becomes one-dimensional. It becomes predictable, and you're not going to win with predictability in this league. Talking to you, New York Jets, you're not going to win with a predictable offense in the NFL. I know I'm throwing shade at my team. I don't care, but more to come on that. But yeah, I mean, the Jaguars beating the Titans beating the Jaguars, especially when the Jaguars have been looking like this slide, and I'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the biggest disappointment. I think the Jaguars have been the biggest disappointment in this week, but the slide the Jaguars have been on ever since that, I would argue the San Francisco lost. They're coming off a bye week, and they got exposed. Exposed against the 49ers. And after the Monday night game, the slide just kept happening. And then in that Carolina game, when they shut out Carolina, saved their season. But they need to show up for this game, and they didn't. And now they're home, and I guess there was consequences from this because Doug Peterson went out firing his entire defensive staff, including the defensive coordinator. So he'll be searching for a new defensive coordinator.
Oh, wow.
I think I have a feeling who that might be. Was a certain former head coach in Tennessee that could be as a defensive coordinator. No.
He would be a good one. But let the Vrabel to New England rumors start.
Yes, let the Vrabel. I mean, we'll talk about head coaches and towards the end of the show. So my biggest upset, I kind of went in a different direction here.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with Giants over Eagles. And some might necessarily qualify as an upset, but considering the Giants had lost their previous 5 matches against the Eagles and where the Giants were compared to the Eagles in the standings, I would qualify as an upset. Let's talk about the Eagles for a second. They were 10-1 at the beginning of November. 10-1 at the beginning of December. And they finished 1-5 down the stretch. They actually almost lost to this same Giants team a few weeks right before Christmas. And they looked like a team that just didn't want to be at the Meadowlands on Sunday afternoon. Tyrod Taylor threw for nearly 300 yards. And the Giants just motorboated the Eagles by 20. And they go to a 24-10 lead. They held on. I wouldn't say held on, but it went on to a 27-10 win. And by halftime, you can see Nick Sirianni just pulling the starters.
Yeah.
Especially after the Giants went up 24. And you look at the score line, you're saying, oh, 27-10? Wow, what happened here? It looks pretty close. The game wasn't as close as the final score indicated. The Giants outgained the Eagles by a lot. And granted, the Eagles had their second string offense out there for quite a bit in this game. They're resting up for the playoff match, whoever they're going to play. And the fact of the matter is that they had a shot at winning the NFC East.
Yeah.
They needed Dallas to lose to Washington, and that was not going to happen because Dallas absolutely just wrecked the Command Skins. And
they dismantled them.
Is absolutely said, you know what? We're going to go into the wild card round as a 2 seed, and we're going to show everybody in the league we're for real. Now, whether that means through a scene, I don't know. I don't know if they make it. They have home and field advantage through the divisional round for the first time in I can't tell you how many years. I don't have the Encyclopedia Britannica is a little broken right now. doesn't really know Dallas stats because I'm not a Dallas fan. But
we're
Dallas
not them boys.
We are not them boys. So I think Philly looked like they didn't want to be there. They're resting most of their starters. There's lots of speculation that Nick Sirianni might be fired if they lose in the divisional round against the Buccaneers. I don't think there's a whole lot of truth to that, especially after they just went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
stranger things have happened, but I know Jeff Lurie's seems to be more patient with this particular coaching staff, with this particular coach, than any other coach he's had. He's demonstrated his patience with coaches before. Look at Doug Peterson; he was there for quite a long time. He went up winning a Super Bowl for this team, for this city. Mm-hmm. So, I qualify the Giants beating the Eagles as an upset, just for the fact that Philly had something to play for, but they didn't show up at the same time.
Yeah, they just the last few weeks, and I would say. And it could be before that, but things really started to go south. Now, I will couch it as a Seahawks fan. I think if Jalen Hurts was 100%, the Eagles win that game because Seattle. It was a great drive by Drew Lock at the end there. Drew Lock played pretty well, but that was when Jalen Hurts had the virus or whatever it was, and he flew on a separate plane so as not to infect the rest of the team out to Seattle. Mm-hmm. But I think their season slide really started with that game. You could just tell that affected them, and they haven't been the same since. Their body language is different. Everything seems a little different.
I don't think they've been the same since that 49ers game.
Yeah, that too. That was a drubbing.
They were punched in the face over and over and over again. Oh, breaking news, Dustin. I have some breaking news for you.
What's that?
Hold on. Gotta get through. Oh, there we go. Deebo Samuel just scored another touchdown.
I knew that was coming. He scored one from the couch. He's watching. Big fan, Deebo. He watches live every week.
We love you, Deebo. We love you.
Shout out.
Special shout out to Deebo Samuel. Please don't hurt us. So we're going to move on to our biggest disappointment of the week. I'm going to lead off with this one. And the Jaguars were the biggest disappointment from week 18. What happened to them? I wrote an article on Belly Up Sports, shameless plug. I wrote an article on Belly Up Sports yesterday on where it all went wrong for each team in the AFC. Each team that didn't qualify for the playoffs. I wrote the tipping point of the season on where things went wrong and how things went downhill from there. And for me, I believe it started to go south when they were humbled by the 49ers in week 9. You could argue that the Monday night game where they got beat by Cincinnati and Jake Browning was that tipping point. But again, this is my opinion. So, you could be right, but again, my opinion. And the Jags had to win a win-and-you're-in game. Unlike last season, where they had a win-and-you're-in game, which was against the same Tennessee Titans team in week 18, they fell flat in their face. They came out flat. As you mentioned, Dustin, Trevor Lawrence throws 2 interceptions. Their 4th and goal call at the 1-yard line was really confusing. Why are you going to try to do a leap? Why are you going to have Trevor Lawrence try to leap over the rest of the pile to get to the end zone, especially when at the 1-yard line? That play confused me. And their slide from potential AFC top seed to being out of the playoffs was completely unexpected. And it's especially true when go back to the tape, go back to the beginning of the year, go back to their NFL preview. We both said that this team was going to run this division, not only this year, but for years to come. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so disappointed in how this thing's turned out for the Jaguars. You could argue it's their defense. Their defense let them down. Their offense didn't show up. It's both sides. It's both and. It's a both and situation. Yeah. So my biggest disappointment that for me, Dustin, who was your biggest disappointment in week 18?
Well, we're going to keep this train rolling because you picked the Jags as a whole. I picked one Trevor Lawrence, and he didn't play that terribly. When you look at his final stats, he threw for I got to look at my notes here, but he threw for 2 touchdowns. But the problem really was those 2 picks, and there was a couple throws where he just looked out of sorts. He hit Calvin Ridley on 1 touchdown, and then there was another would-be touchdown where somehow Calvin Ridley got way behind the defense. He was open, completely open. Trevor Lawrence goes to hit him up, overthrows him. Now, some people argue, hey, couldn't Calvin Ridley have dove for that catch? Couldn't he have tried something? He could have, but who's to say he would make it? That if you go back and you look at that tape, Trevor Lawrence overthrew that pass. And then their final drive of the game, they're trying to come back. They're down by 8. They need to score. And Trevor Lawrence throws this pass to Evan Ingram. If you didn't know any better, you'd almost think he was throwing it out of bounds. He missed Evan Ingram badly on the play, and he just looked if you want to be he was drafted very high, obviously. He was number one pick for the Jags. He was touted as one of the best quarterback prospects since Andrew Luck, and those have got to be lofty expectations to live up to. But last year we saw it. We saw his command of the Jags in that playoff game where, frankly, if not for one Chad Henne going out there and doing some things, they would have upset the Chiefs. They would have upset them. The Jags gave them everything that the Chiefs could handle in that playoff game, and also that unbelievable run that they had that you predicted, Stradamus. That's how you got your name. That was Trevor Lawrence was starting to ascend in that. You're like, man, this guy's going to live up to it. He's everything. He needed to show up, and he needed to lead his team to victory in this game, and he just couldn't do it. And there were some bad throws. That really cost him. And those 2 interceptions against the defense, which prior to this had barely picked anybody off for the entire season. You can't do that when your season's on the line and you've been drafted in the position that you were and you've been considered the quarterback that you are. You've got to do better than that. I'm sorry, Trevor.
No, you're not. No, but I totally get it. You were drafted for this reason. You're supposedly a generational quarterback. I remember my team's fan base saying, we need to tank. We need to lose out the season. We need to lose out 2020 to get our shot at Trevor Lawrence. And didn't get him. And last year he balled out. This year it's a lot different. It's a much different story. And it's sad to see, but these are the breaks. This is NFL. This is the NFL. You got to show up and prove that you're the best. And unfortunately, but your best wasn't good.
I tried my best. But I will say, slightly in Trevor's, we don't, at least from let me ask you, does this change how you view him? Because I feel like we don't know exactly what he is now, because last year he was so good, his first season with Doug Peterson. This year, kind of mercurial, up and down. As Trevor went, the Jags went a little bit. His rookie season, I'm throwing out the window. He had Urban Meyer as his head coach. We all know what a disaster that was. So to me, he's had one great season, one so-so season. I'll be interested next year to see what he does.
Yep. But in the meantime, because your week 18 was terrible, both the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, we gotta do this. We gotta break out Chauncey Winston for this one. All right, we're moving on from biggest disappointment to most entertaining game. Dustin, I'll have you lead off. What was the most entertaining game in your mind from Week 18 in the NFL?
Well, I feel like a broken record because for the third straight week, I believe, I'm picking a Saturday game. And this is not the game that I thought that I was going to pick, but the more I reflected back on the week as I'm watching football, because to my opinion, and I want to see if you agree with me, while there was some good football this week and I enjoyed it, there was not that many games where I was like, oh, this is far and away the best game. Like, there wasn't one that really stuck out to me and blew my socks off. However, I thoroughly enjoyed the Colts versus the Texans. It was a very entertaining game for me on Saturday night. And it was because, the Colts, they start with 3 straight completions to Michael Pittman. You're like, oh, man, this is going to be crazy. Minshew's out there. He's doing like a Brett Favre-esque shuffle pass to Michael Pittman. and they score first. They get 3 points, and you're like, okay, what are the Texans going to do? Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, they go out there, play action pass on their first play of their first drive, 75-yard touchdown to Nico Collins, who Nico Collins was all over the place in this game. I believe he had a ridiculous receiving yard total. I think it was something crazy. I would have to look it up. I forgot to write it down in my black notebook here. But you're thinking, okay, now the Texans are going to run away with this thing. How are the Colts going to respond? The Colts defense got a few key stops and stopped some Texans drives. And the reason that the Colts were kept in this game, because Gardner Minshew, he didn't have a great game here, but I'll tell you who did have a great game, and it was Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor looked fully back in this one. This is the game where he looked like the running back that he has been in past seasons, and you're saying, all right, this guy's a man, and it's especially impressive who he did this against. Jonathan Taylor, I'll get to his yardage totals later in the show, but he ran like a man possessed in this game against a Texans run defense that has much improved under the leadership of D'Amico Ryan. They've gone from like one of the worst rushing defenses in the league to they're one of the top rushing defenses now. They've done much better at stopping the run, and Jonathan Taylor just ran right through them.
Yeah, I if I remember correctly, I remember Troy Aikman lauding the Texans run defense, and the next play they gave up that 50-yard run to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, the 49-yard touchdown run. It was great. And Jonathan Taylor averaged something crazy like 6.6 yards a carry he was getting chunk plays anytime the Colts needed something. 14 yards by Taylor, 11 yards by Taylor. It was crazy. But then the two teams, the Colts finally did score a touchdown. It was that Jonathan Taylor touchdown, and then they converted on a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Then the teams traded field goals, and the Texans score what would ultimately be the go-ahead touchdown. Kymie Fairburn missed the extra point, which did cause a little bit of drama because then at the end of the game, the Colts were trying to drive to tie it up, and they go for it on 4th down, and unfortunately Gardner Minshew, he throws a ball that's a little bit behind Goodson, and the Colts don't get it done. Texans are going to the playoffs. It was a great game. It felt a little bit like a playoff game because it essentially was. The winner of that game was in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you can't blame that running back Goodson, the third stringer, who was put in that situation on 4th. Yeah, that one I gotta get on Shane Steichen on, because you don't put your best player, who's been literally running the ball all over the yard, all over Lucas Oil Stadium that night, and you leave him off the field for 4th down.
Yeah, and at the very least, if you want to give Jonathan Taylor a rest or whatever the reason that he was out on that play, put Zach Moss in there, because the few times Zach Moss ran, he looked good as well, and he's also had a lot more playing time this year and done well. So put Zach Moss in there if you want to spell Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. That was my. I think Minshew throwing the ball in a bad place to Goodson. Goodson's drop. You could some fans will blame Goodson. I don't think he deserves to blame. I think Shane Steichen. That's Shane Steichen's responsibility as head coach. I think he needs. And he's supposed to take responsibility, and I suspect that he will. I suspect that he will take responsibility for this one, because it was his call to have that personnel out there for that 4th down play, and you don't leave your best player on the sideline when the game's on the line. And and not only the playoff spot's on the line, but also the division is on the line.
Yeah, it was a big spot, and you can't put it in somebody's hands like that. But what about you, sir? What was your most entertaining game?
Oh, so my most entertaining game was the game that we both had our eye on this past Saturday during the morning brunch, and that was the Bills and the Dolphins. It lived up to everything that it was hyped to be. There was a reason why NBC put that game in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And this game was the reason why. And the Dolphins looked like they were going to be in control after taking the lead in the second quarter. And they were actually in control into the third quarter. Neither team scored in the third quarter. But here's the problem. The Dolphins didn't score in the fourth quarter. The Bills did. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that the Bills season came full circle that night. Remember all the way back in week one? All the way back in week 1, September 11th. They got walked off by Xavier Gipson of the New York Jets on a punt return for a touchdown in overtime. Well, Deontay Hardy, 96-yard punt return to first score, tie the score. Bills take the lead. Josh Allen balled out that night, over 300 yards passing, had a great game. I would say is a dark horse right now for MVP consideration, but I think it could go to somebody else. It's definitely going to go to somebody else, but the way that Josh Allen has played the last month and a half, 2 months, with Joe Brady calling the plays, with Ken Dorsey. I would say Ken Dorsey was at fault for limiting Josh Allen a little bit and not getting him enough help with the running game. And the running game was slowed up a little bit in this game, but Josh Allen had, when he steps up and he balls out, watch out. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And I say this as a Jets fan. I'm going to be completely humble about this. But Josh Allen throws that touchdown pass to Dawson Knox. And Miami, to their credit, they stayed in. They tried to keep the Bills contained as much as possible. They tried to get back into the game, try to score to force overtime. Unfortunately, Tua Tagovailoa was picked off by the Bills defense at the wrong time, and the Bills wound up holding on, and they won their fourth consecutive division title. And they also clinched the number 2 seed in the AFC, so they guaranteed at least 2 home games for the playoffs. They got a tough game on Sunday against Pittsburgh, but they'll be in the friendly confines of Rich Stadium, or some people call it now Highmark Stadium.
Oh, man. And I have to admit, because I did enjoy this game as well. But as I was watching it, I was just like, man, how many times can Buffalo shoot themselves in the foot? They had drops. They had all these things. And you're like, man, they look like they don't have it. They're gonna drop this game to the Dolphins. At least that's what I was thinking. They had some miscues. They had things go wrong in the first half a little bit, but that punt return really shifted the momentum, and Buffalo started to feel it. And you could see their confidence growing, and away they went. But I will say just one piece of commentary on this game that I could not stand. A lot of people heap a lot of hate on Chris Collinsworth. Normally, I'm kind of indifferent, but man, he drove me crazy in this game, because they showed a clip where Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins, was extolling the virtues of Josh Allen. He was saying, he's big, he's tough, he's dynamic. He's saying all these things. And he goes,
now here's the guy.
Well, no, this is worse, because he said, he said, he's a dude. That's how he finished his press conference about Josh Allen. Well, old Chris Collinsworth took this and ran with it, because every time he referred to Josh Allen for like the next 2 to 3 series, it felt like an entire quarter, he just kept saying, he's a dude, that dude, the dude. And I'm just like, all right, you quit it. It was driving me nuts.
You should just sing that song from Good Burger. I'm a dude. He's a dude. She's a dude. We're all dudes. Dudes. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Before that, we'll take one more trip to the comments section. Dr. Lady Esquire says, weeks away from baseball. In fact, I did the calculations. We are actually 35 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Oh, wow. Hey, yeah. Signs of spring,
Signs of spring. Yep.
As it ices out here.
Right, as it snows and rains where we are. But yeah, it's interesting that pitchers and catchers report less than a week after the NFL season ends in the Super Bowl. So, which I'm also looking forward to. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and you are tuned in to No Credentials Required. Are you ready to elevate your sports betting experience? Look no further than DraftKings Sportsbook. Why choose DraftKings Sportsbook? Unmatched variety. Bet on your favorite sports leagues or discover new ones to follow. Live betting. Test your instincts and feel the adrenaline as you bet in real time while the game unfolds. Promotions and boosted odds. DraftKings keeps the excitement going with a range of promotions, odds boosts, and special offers. And a user-friendly interface. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or new to the game, DraftKings' intuitive platform makes placing bets a breeze. Ready to dive in? Belly Up Sports has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook to give you an exclusive offer. Sign up at dkng.co/BellyUp150 and new customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet $5 or more. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your love for sports to the next level. Sign up today and let the games begin. Please gamble responsibly. 21 years or older. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for details. You got that right, folks. This weekend, I did a couple of, I'll admit, I do a little bit of sports booking here and there. Very small bets, little small bets. But the app I used was DraftKings. DraftKings, again. And I won those bets. I won all my bets this weekend. So, very happy guy. Very happy guy. Made a little bit of money. Yeah, made a little bit of money. Turned $1 into $10 with the parlay that I hit. So, yeah, DraftKings has a lot to offer when it comes to your sports booking experience. Again, go to the description and the link in the description, which is dkng.co/BellyUp150. New users can deposit $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Not $150, $200 in bonus bets. And if you're in a state that has legalized online sports book and you're 21 and over, gamble responsible. I'm going to say, put your bets in, be responsible. Be responsible. Don't be stupid and bet $10 for each bet. Like small wagers turn into big rewards, just like I did this weekend with my Puka Nakua and 2-point conversion parlay. You can win some money. Nice. $1 can turn to 10 when you use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Moving on, Week 18, most notable performance. I'm going to lead off here, but we got to introduce a new element. It's the Homer alert. For those of you who are on the listening podcast on the podcast side, it's in giant letters Homer alert, and it's a giant red light just swishing around. And I was going to add some sound effects. I was going to add the minions. One of the minions going Bedo, Bedo, Bedo. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. But yes, it's Homer alert time, folks, because my most notable performance this week was not one, but two units for the New York Jets. The first unit being Breece Hall, who basically made up the entire offense for the New York Jets on this day, on a blustery, snowy afternoon, execrable conditions in Foxborough. 37 carries, 173 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions for 12 yards. You could argue that he got way too many carries in this game. You could argue that he was in the field too long. But part of the reason is the Jets wanted to get him to the 1,000-yard rushing mark for the first time in his career. Unfortunately, he fell 4 yards short. And yeah, it stinks. But here's the thing. He had over 1,600 all-purpose yards for the season. He's the first guy to do this. He's the first running back to do this for the Jets since Thomas Jones in 2008. And this guy's the future. He is the future. I mean, him and Garrett Wilson and hopefully a complimentary receiver the Jets either draft or they pick up in their offseason. They're shaping this offense around Breece Hall. And here's I may not have mentioned this on Saturday's show. Well, actually, no, I mentioned this yesterday on Snowman in the Morning during Coffee with McCarthy. When Nathaniel Hackett said, we had no idea how good Breece Hall was. I would have fired him on the spot for saying that. Fired him on the spot. But unfortunately, I'm not Robert Saleh. I'm not Joe Douglas, so I can't. But 173 yards for Breece Hall. 21 receiving yards, hit a 50-yard run at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, which basically sealed the deal for the Jets because their defense was outstanding against this Patriots team. They absolutely rub their nose in this game, and Bill Belichick's nose in this game, because they finally broke the losing streak. 15-game losing streak. That streak is dead. It is dead. It is over. I am going to urinate on the grave that is that losing streak. And listen to these stats. 7 sacks, 118 net yards allowed, 2 turnovers. Unfortunately, one of them turned into a turnover themselves because Ashton Davis tried to lateral the ball to Sauce Gardner. Why are you doing that, Ashton? I don't know. But the Jets finally break this losing streak, and they beat the Patriots, and they may have possibly sent Bill Belichick packing. We don't know what his status is. He says he's still in negotiation. He's still talking about it with Robert Kraft. But here's the thing. I was hoping the margin of victory would be bigger. But this will do, especially in those in the garbage conditions that both teams had to deal with.
Yeah.
And my honorable mention for most notable performance is the Bills' defense. They hold the Dolphins to 275 net yards, 14 points. They caused 2 turnovers, including that game-clinching interception towards the end of the game. So that was your Homer alert for the January 9th edition of No Crunches Required. You may see more of this during baseball season.
Yes.
But, Dustin, who was your most notable performance in Week 18 of the NFL?
Well, I'm going to go off book a little bit here, and I'm picking a QB, which I know I've done a lot on this show, and that's something that I got to try to curb for next year because I rely on picking the QBs too much. But when they impress me, I gotta shout them out. But I am not going with the QB that I think a lot of people would think. You know, they're saying, "Oh, who are you picking? Are you picking Dak because he had a commanding performance against the Commanders?" See what I did there? No, I am not picking Dak Prescott. I am picking one Derek Carr, and I'm going to tell you why. Nice. Derek Carr has had a lot of problems this season. We ourselves have said, I believe I said a few weeks ago, the car has been a little broken this season. It's not running properly. But Saints fans, particularly and I've seen it on social media, which we all know social media is like an amplifier. So you got to be careful. But a lot of Saints fans were saying, "Oh, we should have never taken Carr. Carr's terrible." People were heaping dirt on the grave of Derek Carr, and I'm thinking to myself, he always played pretty good for the Raiders. Was he like unbelievable? No, but was he good? Yes. And we saw Derek Carr was, in my opinion, extremely resilient after the season that he has had. He had some injuries. It hasn't gone well in New Orleans. A lot of people throwing the blame on Derek Carr. Well, what did he do in his final week of the season? He threw for 4 touchdowns, and he also the stats there. He went 22 of 28, which is very good, but only 264 yards, but 4 touchdowns in a game that they had to win in order to keep their outside shot at the playoffs alive. They had to win, and did they. That game ended in some controversy. But I had to tip my hat to Derek Carr for the performance after the season he's had. It hasn't been the best for him. And it was nice to see him. It was nice to see him kind of rebound a little bit and kind of prove like, hey, I still know how to play in this league. And, who knows what happens next year. But I had to give props to Derek Carr after everything he's gone through this season. It was a very impressive performance for me on the final week.
Speaking of Saints quarterbacks, did you happen to catch the Jameis Winston interview after the game?
I did.
Where he was asked about the play call that put the Saints up 49-17.
Yes, I did.
I will play that clip. It is content gold.
Yeah.
Gold, Jerry. gold.
Do you think we regret that?
Well, you do have to play these guys twice a year. That's all I'm saying.
We already played them twice.
I know, but I'm talking about the future. You know, somebody's got to play these guys twice a year. That's all.
How do you feel about it? Tell me how you feel about it.
Not good.
Why don't you feel good about it?
Because you got to play these guys twice a year.
But what about it makes you not feel good about it?
The head coach tells you to kneel it up. You're asking my opinion?
Yes.
I think you should have kneeled it up.
Okay. Well,
I'm just telling you as respectfully as I can. You answer my question as respectfully as you could, and I'm telling you as respectfully as I can that I respectfully disagree with you. That's all.
You disagree with me or the entire team?
Whoever made that decision.
Okay. So you disagree with the entire team. So thank you.
No, I'm being honest and respectful.
And that's what I'm attempting to do too. Yes. And that's what I am doing.
So,
yes.
Okay, full disclosure, I did not see that segment of the interview. I saw the part where he said, you know, we made that decision as a team, which more and more it comes out. It seems like Jameis Winston might have made that decision, but he was saying they wanted to get a touchdown for Jamal Williams because he's been important to the team and blah blah blah. But you can't just blatantly disregard what your coach said. In my opinion, not a good look. And then you add that on top of it. I had not seen that. Also, I was trying to do a real-time counter to see how many times they could say respectfully to each other, because it was quite a lot.
Respectfully, I disagree. Well, respectfully, I'm asking you the question, but respectfully, I disagree. Do you respectfully disagree with me? Yes, I disagree. Yes, but I'm showing you that respect right now. Oh my gosh, it turned into a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Dennis, and who knows what's going to happen with Dennis Allen too? Because there's a lot of speculation that this might have been his last game as coach of the New Orleans Saints. That remains to be seen. We're supposed, Black Monday was supposed to come around. We're supposed to get all these firings in the NFL, and we got only two. But moving on to the hottest individual take of the week. And Dustin, in our show rundown, you had a particularly spicy and thought-provoking take from this take from this week in the NFL. Go ahead and share that with us, please.
Well, I'm stirring up that gumbo again, but in my opinion, this year, a lot of things were made about, a running back, you can plug anybody in there and they'll do well. The running back position isn't what it used to be. You don't spend high draft pedigree on them. There was the meeting of a running back summit headed by Austin Eckler, I believe, because he was worried about the devaluing of the running back. And he came out and said, hey, we still have to block. We have to do a lot of things on the field, and people are acting like anybody can do it. Saquon Barkley, he didn't get the deal that he was looking for with the Giants. There were running backs that remained unsigned for quite a while, and at the time, people were baffled by it. Well, I think Week 18 in the NFL proved that the running back is still very much a key part of the team. Everybody always says, oh, this is a passing league now. The league is different. Well, look at these running back performances from Week 18. Jonathan Taylor almost felt like single-handedly almost got the Colts a victory and a playoff berth. He ran for 188 yards and a touchdown against a good run defense in the Houston Texans. Breece Hall, you just detailed eloquently what he did, 173 yards and a TD. Derrick Henry, 153 yards and a TD. And he helped his team pull off a huge upset win. And as much as I've heaped a bunch of crap on Najee Harris during this season, he has started to run well down the stretch, 112 yards and a TD. Granted, granted, it was against, I don't think the Ravens had some of their starters in there, but still, running backs were essential in all of those teams' wins this week. It was a little bit, it was the return of the running back, I called it in the show rundown. And as somebody who still remembers fondly Marshawn Lynch running the ball for my Seahawks not that long ago, and Sean Alexander before him, and Ricky Watters before him. Yes, that's right. He did play for the Seahawks.
And Kurt Warner before him.
Yes. Who could forget about
Kurt with a C? Kurt with a C, not with a K.
Yes, the original Kurt Warner.
OG Kurt Warner.
But
from
yes,
Penn State University.
And as somebody, I miss a former New York Jet, Curtis Martin. I used to love to watch him run the ball. One-time Jet and Charger LaDainian Tomlinson was an absolute delight to watch run the ball. It was so nice for me to see. The running back position is not dead. This week, to me, proved it. And there's been some great running back performances in the NFL. James Conner went off against my Seahawks, much to my chagrin. They almost lost that game. But the running back position is not dead. This week, I'm calling it the return of the running back. There were some key performances. That is all. That is how I feel. It was nice to see the running back return.
Now, here's my question for you. Is 2024 going to be the year of the running back in the NFL?
I don't think so. I don't think it'll be the year of the running back because this league has gravitated much more towards passing. There's still those teams, like we know, the Seahawks love to run the ball. And as long as Pete Carroll is the head coach of the Seahawks, that's what they're going to do. The New York Jets just basically came out and said it. They're going to build their offense around Breece Hall, as they should, I think. No disrespect to Aaron Rodgers, but he is not a spring chicken. And also, apropos of nothing, I don't know if I would have brought Nathaniel Hackett back after the offensive performance. I get it. You're on your backup, but when you score less touchdowns than the Carolina Panthers, you got a problem. You got to figure something out.
I think I saw a stat where it was they scored 1 or less touchdowns in 10 of their 17 games this year, or 11 or 17 games this year. That's a crime, and especially in 2023 NFL, you can't do that.
No,
you can't do that.
No, you can't. But is 2024 going to be the year of the running back? I don't think so. But you have some running backs to look forward to see. I mean, Bijan Robinson. I'm excited to see how the future head coach of the Atlanta Falcons uses him.
Falcons fans and fantasy football fans will rejoice in the fact that Arthur Smith is gone from the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes. But, all I wanted to say is that the running back, a lot of people devalued the running back position this year, and I think it was a misstep, and I think Week 18 kind of reminded us all why you still need someone to run the rock on an NFL team.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss in a future episode the narratives going to the offseason in the NFL for each and every team. One of the biggest narratives for the New York Giants is whether or not they're going to keep Saquon Barkley. Speaking of running backs, because he only signed that 1-year deal he got franchise tag, had that 1-year deal, and we'll see what the future holds and see if how they're gonna configure their offense for next year. And there's lots of questions that Daniel Jones might not be back because of his overinflated contract. The Giants should have never signed him for that much money.
No.
$40 million a year, and you only played what, 8 games, which I understand. It's because of injury, but the way he played before the injury was it wasn't great. It wasn't great. And if you're going to build an offense, I think you build it around Saquon Barkley. Like you said, Dustin, the running back position is so undervalued in the NFL now. And what Jim Irsay said back in July, August, about when Jonathan Taylor was going through they were going through the contract negotiation with Jonathan Taylor, the fact that he said, "Oh, I can get a running back lickety split. These guys are replaceable." It's like, no. They're especially if they're valuable parts of their offense, like Jonathan Taylor. He missed 4 games this year, and he still had all those great performances, especially later in the season. That's how valuable he is to the offense of the Colts.
Yeah, and he's going to help out a young quarterback again in Anthony Richardson next year. He's going to take some of the pressure off Anthony Richardson. And guess what? You know what else Anthony Richardson did really well in his short time where he was playing? He ran the ball as well.
Yeah.
So but who picks up some of the blocks when the quarterback RPOs or when the quarterback takes off on a designed run? That's right, the running back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Jim Irsay, man, I had forgotten that he said that, but man, now that I remember, I'm mad again.
Yeah. Even with all those guitars that he buys and
yes, and
preserves to the public for free and preserves them and whatnot. So my hottest individual take from week 18 is that, and I'm sure it's not a hot take, but this is what a lot of people are thinking, but I'm going to put it out into the universe. Antonio Pierce deserves to be named permanent head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders in 2024. And all the puns can speculate how Mark Davis is going to, how he'll decide his next head coach, who he's going to select. But I think Pierce stabilized the locker room from when Josh McDaniels was fired after the Lions game. He stabilized that locker room from that point forward. They beat the Giants. They came out and socked the Giants in the mouth the next game. They struggled against my Jets, but still wound up winning them because the defense held strong. They didn't allow a touchdown for the entire game. And yeah, they went 5-4 the rest of the stretch, but they were still competitive. They were competitive in pretty much every single game that Antonio Pierce was coaching in that stretch of time. I can't remember a game during the schedule. I'll have to look it up that they lost by more than 10 points. I mean, I'll look it up right now because we do real-time research on this particular shoe.
Yeah, nothing like real-time research. But I'll say, while you're looking that up, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If Antonio Pierce is not the head coach of the Raiders next year, I will be fuming because Mark Davis, if he does this again, he already made the mistake with Rich Bisaccia. It's clear how much the players respect and love Antonio Pierce. That team looks like a completely different team under him, namely the defense. So you can't eschew Antonio Pierce to make some big splash. You're going to have the players like in an open revolt.
Yeah, and I stand correct that they did lose one game by 14 points. That was in Kansas City in week 12, but they stayed in every game. Every loss, they stayed in every game. They had the infamous 3-0 loss to Minnesota. Then on Thursday night, they scored 42 points in the first half against the Los Angeles Chargers that got Brandon Staley fired. Absolutely killed them. And here's the cool thing about Antonio Pierce. We talked about running backs when it came to your hottest individual take this week, Dustin. We talked about running backs and how important the position still is. Antonio Pierce is a run-first guy.
Yeah.
He's got Zamir White in the backfield along with Josh Jacobs. That could be a nice 1-2 combination. And I don't know what they're going to do for the quarterback position. They might reevaluate things. Jimmy Garoppolo was out most of last year, most of this season. Had Ed O'Connell in the lineup or Brian Hoyer. But I think once they get the quarterback position stabilized, this is going to be a tough team to play in 2024.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. If they keep Pierce, because that defense and they have Max Crosby. He's like he goes under the radar a little bit, but he's a bona fide star on the defensive side of the ball. He's got that attitude. He can be a game wrecker. And then it's not like and a quarterback, you think keeping Devontae Adams too, which there's already rumors that the Jets are going to try to make a run at him. But
I don't know if you saw, but Garrett Wilson gave up his number 17. Thomas Morstead gave Garrett Wilson number 5, and presumably Thomas Morstead, who I hope and pray the Jets re-sign him in 2024. They bring him back because he was such an awesome. I mean, that guy is an awesome punter. Let's just put it this way. I'm going to put it this way. People talk about Ray Guy being the greatest punter in the NFL history. Thomas Morstead might be the greatest punter in NFL history.
All right.
I'm not saying that because he played for my team. I'm saying that because it's fact. It is bona fide fact. And Mike Westhoff, who I'm still reading his book. Mm-hmm. He said it as such. When he was the special teams coordinator for the New Orleans Saints, he said Thomas Morstead is the best punter I have ever worked with. He just has this innate ability to create field position with his leg. The way he kicks the ball, the way he angles the ball, the way he does all these special things with the ball to get the ball out of the downfield is just remarkable. It's a remarkable thing. And I think Thomas Morstead should be a Hall of Famer once his career ends. And I hope the Jets bring him back for 2020, 2024. But getting back to the original point about the Raiders, Mark Davis, we know you watch this program. We know you're a big fan. You tune in every Tuesday or Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes you tune into the brunch on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Please don't make the same mistake twice. Don't make the same mistake you did with Rich Bisaccia in exchange for Josh McDaniels. Keep Antonio Pierce as your head coach.
Yes.
He's going to move this team in the right direction. You saw it for the last 9 weeks of the season. And it'll be a damn shame if they didn't.
Well, and also, I can't help but think it's ironic given who I gave the nod to for my best performance. But can you imagine how the Raiders would have looked once Josh McDaniels was out and it was Antonio Pierce's turn if they still had Derek Carr at quarterback instead of Aiden O'Connell?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I still, no shade against Jimmy Garoppolo, but people wanted to heap dirt on Carr on his way out the door, and then the Raiders turn around and they sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're like, all Jimmy Garoppolo does is win. Jimmy Garoppolo won. He had some good games in San Francisco, but he also had a metric ton of talent around him in San Francisco. What did Jimmy Garoppolo do for the Raiders this year before he got hurt? You know?
Bubkiss, Dustin.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can't help but think, man, you put Derek Carr back on this offense with Devontae Adams, with Antonio Pierce at the helm, they would be real tough.
Yeah. So, before we talk about the coaching vacancies in the NFL, I'll take one more quick comment section visit. Rod Uncensored, what's up? 6 rings are better than 1. Yeah, and your team finished in last place this year, Rod. So, right there, pal. Right there. Hope you enjoy your history for the next half decade or so. And A Pizzle, big Dolphins fan. McCoffee, A Pizzle. How you doing, bud? All right, coaching vacancies so far, as of Tuesday at 9:06 p.m. Eastern, we have the Atlanta Falcons who mercifully let go of Arthur Smith. Do you think that outburst at the end of the game after the Saints game was the nail in the coffin, or do you think other things had to be a factor in his firing?
I think it was a couple of things. I don't think it was the outburst after the game. I think what the nail in the coffin was the final score of that game. Because the Falcons were with them in the beginning of that game. They actually led that game. Yeah. And I'm saying, oh man, they're gonna do it.
And they were tied at 17 at one point.
Yep. And then the wheels just came off. And I think because Arthur Smith, in his time as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, he has been, this is not the first year that it's gone like this. People were saying free Kyle Pitts. Why don't you use Kyle Pitts? Come on. And then they draft Drake London. They draft Bijan Robinson, and it's much of the same. And his counter to that was always, we're winning football games. I'm not concerned with fantasy football. But the thing was, I said on these very airwaves that when he stopped winning, his coaching style was going to bite him in the behind. And I think Arthur Blank had just decided he had enough because you didn't win, and you're not using the high draft picks. So what are you doing? And I think Arthur Blank decided enough is enough. But I think the final score was the nail in the coffin. I don't think it was due to the outburst.
Yeah, and the fact that they were still in the discussion for the NFC South title coming into that game was a big factor too, because you had to have Carolina beat the Buccaneers, which almost happened.
Yeah.
By the way, big shout out to Baker Mayfield for toughing it out with battling the rib injury and an apparent lower body injury. I don't know if it was knee or his ankle, but battling that situation and leading his team to a win against, again, yes, this is Carolina Trash Kitties. I understand, but they got the job done when they had to get the job done.
Yeah.
Unlike another team a few hours north of them and on the opposite side of the state. Talking to you, Jacksonville. So the other two vacancies after today, Mike Vrabel, we mentioned Tennessee Titans. They relieved him of his duties today. Ron Rivera let go by the Washington Commanders. We all kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
But I gotta say this for Ron Rivera. He took the team through some rocky waters.
Yeah.
From 2020 on, not only professionally, but also personally, because he beat the dude beat cancer.
Yeah.
The dude beat cancer. And I gotta stand up and applaud for that, man. Well, I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm sitting in my chair. But I at least admire the fact that he kept going. He kept going. He could have quit. He could have said, no, I gotta my health comes first. My health comes first. I got to take some time away from this team to battle this thing. But he stayed with the team. He consulted on the name change. He was he just stuck around. And Commanders fans can give him all sorts of crap because, all he did was lose when he was here. But you know what, though? He was a stabilizing force for a while. And, I admire the dude. I admire the dude for all the crap that got put through between all the Snyder stuff, all the Daniel Snyder stuff, and the change in ownership, and all that stuff going on. I at least gotta admire the guy for at least sticking it through to the end.
Yeah, and you know what? I will remember his tenure. Yes, they lost a lot of games while Ron Rivera was the head coach, but the team, I think even Commanders fans would admit, the team was scrappy under Ron Rivera. They hung in some games that they had no business hanging in. And they didn't win a lot of those games. And there was the one year where I think if he had gone to Taylor Heineke earlier, they might have made the playoffs that year. And then I remember at a point last year during the season, I was putting him in my coach of the year conversations, and then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit. And then he did say that confounding thing where he said he did not realize that they were in playoff contention. So that kind of took the wind out of the sails. But much like you, I just like Ron Rivera. I respect him. And he earned the nickname Riverboat Ron for a reason. He always went for it when other coaches would not. Ron Rivera was going for it on fourth down before going for it on fourth down was analytically cool. And I hope he finds another job in the NFL coaching somewhere. Yeah. But that Commanders team, it was scrappy under him.
Ooh, I know where he could go.
Yes, Ryan McCarthy.
Yes, he could go to the Jacksonville Jaguars and become their defensive coordinator.
Ooh, that would be formidable.
Right. Sure. Rostradamus said it here first. Where's my thunderclap?
Oh, there it is. Oh man, the clap overwhelmed your sound. I didn't catch what you said there.
Oh, I said Ron Rivera. Next defensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You hear it here first.
All right, we'll have to see.
The other vacancies, which will likely happen, Carolina, who fired Frank Reich unjustifiably, and the Los Angeles Chargers, who mercifully ended the Brandon Staley coaching experience making leads disappear. Let me just say this: if David Tepper calls you and you're a potential head coach candidate, run.
Yeah.
I'd also say the same thing for Dean Spanos. Run. You don't want to be bothered with those owners because both of them are unserious, and at least one of these owners will probably throw a drink at you at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that is going to pretty much do it for this edition of No Credentials Required. But we just want to remind you about Saturday. And here's his little preview. But our announcement from a few weeks ago about going with the Saturday brunch on a full-time-ish basis. We have a big announcement to make.
Ooh.
We have a big announcement. And we talked about this after the show on Saturday. And Dustin and I, we've decided, starting on January 6th, Saturday brunch will be coming to you on the regular on Saturdays.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Let the brunch flow through you.
Strike me down with all your might, your hatred.
With all your
mimosas.
Yeah.
But yeah,
bottomless.
Yes.
Bottomless
we talked about
mimosas.
Bottomless mimosas. But we talked about it after the show. And it's great that we enjoy talking to sports in the regular every week. And we talk about the NFL throughout the season. And we decided there's a lot more sports news that goes on, whether it be nationally, whether it be locally. But since there's so much happening in the sports world throughout the rest of the week that we miss on this program on our weekday show, we decided, you know what? Let's wait till the weekend. We'll get together for about an hour, the same time frame that we usually use for our regular show, hour to hour 15 minutes, and we'll talk about the rest of the week in sports.
Oh, sorry. I was grooving to that jazzy brunch intro.
The fact that we made that announcement in our Christmas onesies just makes the announcement more special.
Yeah, we gotta keep that around. Keep that clip.
We do. So yes, no credentials required. Saturday brunch on the regular. Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. We are going to go with every Saturday. I just want to let you know, every Saturday from now until Super Bowl, we're going to be on the regular on Saturday morning, on the regular weekly on Saturdays. After that, we'll probably switch it up to every other week leading up to football season, to NFL football season. But we have numerous topics to discuss. We'll probably bring back No Ticket Required because there's sports movies that neither of us have watched that we want to get to and review. We're also going to bring this back. Come on, where is it? There you are.
You just made the list. Oh my gosh.
Yep, the list is coming back too. So, and we got other stuff on the way, both on live stream, and we're going to do some production side off the live streams. We're hoping to do some different stuff during the year, so you don't want to miss out. So you want to hit that like button, you want to hit the subscribe button, and the notifications, also the notifications button on your YouTube channel, and wherever you also check out the show, that you'll be notified when we're on air or we have a new video up.
Oh yeah, follow us on all the socials.
It's an exciting time. 2024 is going to be a fantastic year, both for No Credentials Required and also for myself because I got back into the writing gig. Last year was kind of, I was a little uninspired at times to write, and I was very sparse about it. I was going through kind of a funk, but 2024, I said to myself, commit myself to my writing. So bellyupsports.com is where you can find all my writing. I launched 2 articles consecutive days. I'll probably have another one towards the end of the week talking about hockey. So you might want to check that out, bellyupsports.com.
Man, you're a machine, sir. You're a machine.
On the machine.
So you're getting back into writing. That's it. I'm going to make this on the airwaves so that I have to adhere to it. I'm getting back into guitar this year. It's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to happen. I have to do it. I have to do it for my sanity. I keep, much like you described, your 2023 for writing has been probably about the last 5 years for guitar for me. So I got quite the rust to shake off, but I've got to do it. I've got to get back in.
Yes. Let the notes flow through you. And on that note, we're going to end things for this Tuesday edition of No Credentials Required. Again, thank you for joining us. Follow us on our socials, Twitter, Instagram, and the unoccasionally utilized TikTok at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. And please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that notification dingy. That way you know when new videos come up, whether, again, it be live side or pre-recorded. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast, and you can subscribe on a myriad of podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, wherever you podcast. Rate and review. Leave us a 5-star rating. Also, review if you can on a platform that supports reviews. That means more people will be informed about this podcast. And tell your friends. Also tell your enemies about this podcast. They want to hear it. They want to hear it. So, again, thank you for joining us for this edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We're presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. We'll talk to you again this Saturday for the morning brunch. So join us then.
Good night, everybody.